2022, well, you can be sure that there will be service packs that will come out over subsequent years that will see this release of Business Objects become, pretty dominant through those 2020 years. And, it's very interesting to me, who has been working with Business Objects pretty much since its inception in 1992, to see how this product has evolved, right, over those 3 decades, and now continue into yet, another decade. And I know I must sound like a broken record, but it's a fact that here we are in February of 2020, and the most widely used business intelligence suite in the world today is Business Objects. So we've seen a tremendous amount of change, particularly over the last 5 to 8 years, in terms of tools like Tableau and Power BI and even Click, to a point, that came to the fore, and new tools now that are emerging, like Looker and ThoughtSpot, who have their own little differentiators in there, and potentially will become, the next fad in the world of business intelligence, as BI tries to do more in incorporating artificial intelligence, machine learning, and predictive into, its base products per se. But what I find most fascinating is that SAP, the company that owns Business Objects, has pretty much been, to a degree, ignoring the product for the last 5 or 6 years, as it's been off on a trajectory of its own. First of all with Lumira, which it's finally canned, and now with SAP Analytics Cloud, its next business intelligence platform for the cloud. But they issued, right, what they term as a statement of direction, which is something they do every year, in October of 2019. And that statement of direction, this time, for the first time in 6 or 7 years, half of it talked about Business Objects, which to me is very, very significant, right? And we're seeing a shift happening within the SAP organization. Yes, McDermott is gone now. They have 2 joint CEOs, but everything has changed, from a structural point, within the organization. And I think SAP has woken up to the fact that, gosh, oh, by the way, we own the most popular business intelligence suite in the world. maybe we should talk about it a bit more, right? Because we don't, right? And now they are. And I think you'll see that change, particularly through 2020, 2021, where they will talk about it a lot more. I mean, the fact that SAP came to us and said, we want to be the top platinum sponsor at your conference because your conference is dedicated to Business Objects, I think is a sign, right? Because they never did that before, right? And I never asked them to. Okay, so I think it's good. I think we are seeing, right, a definite shift there. But the question, and the reason I want to have this discussion now with all of you is, well, what's really happening out there in the real world? Because what we saw happen was that, thanks to, tainted Gartner quadrant results and different things that have emerged in the marketplace, people have, CIOs have been influenced in a very different way within larger companies to say, oh, we don't need Business Objects anymore, right? We got Tableau, we're going to get Power BI, we're going to go in these directions and so forth. But what has actually happened has been quite different. That while the intention was to phase out or replace Business Objects, it never happened. They tried, right? But then they realized the cost, right, wasn't going to be of value, or, the solution itself was so embedded in their operations and everything they did that it wasn't that simple. And so most customers now live in this state of coexistence where they have Tableau and Business Objects, they have Power BI and Business Objects, they have Click and Business Objects, some have Domo and Business Objects, but they haven't got rid of Business Objects. And even those customers that have said, it is going, right? It is going, right? They come up with the same message every year, and it's going to be this year, it's going to be this year, but it doesn't go, it's still there, right? And it's running the business. And one story I'd like to share with you is that I got a phone call about a month ago from a customer, and he said, you know, look, I just started with this brand new company, and you know, I'm the VP of data management there, and we don't have a data warehouse, right? And we really need one, and so forth. But what we need most of all is an enterprise reporting solution. And the best enterprise reporting solution on the market that I know is BusinessObjects. And I said, it's a BI tool. And they go, yes, but it's also an enterprise reporting tool, because I've worked for this company, this company, this company, and that's how we used it there. And that was very interesting to me. I'd never thought of it that way, right? But in reality, when I look back, it's quite true that in a lot of organizations that are heavily embedded in BusinessObjects, they have primarily used it as an enterprise reporting tool, not necessarily as a business intelligence tool. So with that said, you know, I'd like, you know, everyone to participate and say, okay, so what do you see happening with BusinessObjects in this decade of the 2020s? Where do you see it going in your organizations? And, you know, now that you've seen a little glimpse of what's coming with the next major version and so forth, I mean, do you see yourselves continuing right down this path with BusinessObjects? Any takers? You're looking at me saying, hey, you're doing such a good job up there. Keep going, Paul. Just keep going. Yes, Alan.
So I think that 4.3 in the next year or two is going to be a huge inflection point of where a lot of us go, right? Because you and I have talked about this a lot. I've always told you I feel like I've been in the trenches fighting this battle since, you know, 2014 or 15, right? And a lot of times I feel like I'm in the trench just taking grenades, and SAP and BusinessObjects has not been really giving me ammo. I'd have to go and find the ammo and build the ammo myself, right? But now, with like you said, SAP finally realizing that a $4 or $5 billion investment needs to be catered to, right? Now we can possibly fight those battles and be able to fight them more easily, not just of the nightmare scenarios of, well, if you move off of this, let me tell you what the world is going to be like, right? I can not only do that, but I can say, let me show you how great this is, right? Other than, you know, having to deal with the complaints about the input controls or deal with the whining about the double ribbon up at top and this and that. 4.3 really gives us a chance to put our foot down and say this is not only the best reporting tool, the most secure tool, it's actually a modern BI tool, and the integration with SAC, right, if that can actually happen, the SAP customers that are going towards the 2025 ECC deadline, you know, the big chunk that should be moving to HANA, that potentially creates a huge customer base for those of us that are in the consulting world that's not supporting, you know, as an FTE. It's just, if things go well and they start listening to us and making the right investments, I see us being uniquely positioned to dominate the market, right? But if SAP continues to not listen to us, to make decisions in a boardroom vacuum, right, then it makes the future tough, right? I think the companies that do have object and they run it correctly and as an integral part, it's probably safe for a while, but it's not safe long term. So you know, I feel like I'm kind of at the mercy of SAP, but at least I have a lot more positive feelings about that mercy, right, going forward. That it's a lot more comfortable position as an SAP BI consultant. Whereas the last few years as an SAP BI consultant, you know, I'm amongst family here, I can speak honestly, I've been fretting, right? I've been fretting about the future of my business and my full-time job, right? I've been fretting that my full-time job is going to get rid of the platform. I fret that my clients aren't time you want to do A, B, and C, you got to get another Power App. You got to spend more money on a subscription. Azure costs end up coming at the end of the month that I got to explain. I don't like it. It is hard to manage. BobJ is great. It's simple, yet it's elegant, and I don't want to see it go away. I want to see it massaged, and I want to see it grow, and I want to see it beat everyone, because I know it can.
Yep. Anyone else? I think that's really good input, Alan, and I really think that we are seeing SAP pay attention. And the group in Paris, which is where Webby is developed, right, and maintained, and is really the driving force behind BI 4.3. I mean, those people are on fire. I mean, they're going out all over the world, you know, to show people, talk to people, do customer influence sessions. We've been doing customer influence sessions at IBIS. We've been doing them at other user group meetings where we actually have one of the product development team from SAP right here, right? You know, doing the design thinking up on the board and getting those inputs. And we're starting to see for the first time some of those requests actually making their way into future service packs, which never happened.
Yeah,
right?
the old customer influence portal.
Yeah.
It was like nobody was there, and actually recently I've seen a lot of activity. I don't know if anybody here is dorky as I am and harasses them, but all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of really unique and cool ideas. I really hope they're reading that, because that's how to grow the product and improve it. Is those of us that are in the pits, in the weeds, you know, and those of us that have to manage the pits and the weeds too. We really feel that heat. Right?
Good. And I hope you can come out of the trenches now.
Well, and maybe that would be a good topic for future sessions too, like pull that up and, you know, filter through it and find a couple that you think are interesting and that we as a community would want to support and show it to us. And if we all like it, whether we have our tablets with us and we can log in and say we agree, because the more people that tag it as agree, the more likely they'll pull it to get it done.
Yeah.
So maybe we add that as one of our session topics. Let's review a couple of them and see what we think. Should we recommend changes? Should we all go home and agree to it? You know.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Leverage our power.
Yeah, we should take a look at some of those. Manith, you might want to take a look and see what's on the idea board or idea place at the moment, and see what is getting the votes and what things that might be interesting to discuss at future user group meetings. Good idea. Any other input, comments?
I'm not even sure where to start with this, but I know that my CIO at Northern Arizona University is really interested in talking a lot about master data management and data lakes and such. And so over the years we've branched into, we do Tableau, we're dipping our toes into Splunk, and we've got like a lot of these kind of things going on, but what we seem to have so many enterprise systems, more than we used to. We've got PeopleSoft and Civitas and Salesforce, and we've got data that people want to see all put together in odd ways, which we've tried to do in our data warehouse and doing out, putting it out through BusinessObjects, and we're so entrenched, and yet that talk never goes away about we need to chase the next shiny thing. And I do see a lot of value in something like master data management, but it's unclear to me how all this is going to fit together at some point, if ever.
Yeah, it's a great point, and we've had some other discussions at these events about about data quality and data warehousing and so forth. I mean, let's face it, garbage in, garbage out. And today, the reason why people don't do more with business intelligence is because the data isn't good. And so what's happening is actually as a result of some of these, shiny object tools like Tableau, like Power BI, people are starting to see for the first time that their data is bad. It's very bad. And so, the next thing that happens after that is, well, I want to use these fantastic tools, but I need to get my data correct. So let's go start a data governance initiative. Let's start looking at master data management and data quality cleansing tools. and try and get that sorted out. And I know a lot of very large companies as well as medium-sized companies who have been doing that now for the last couple of years. Likewise, you're starting to see this move of people wanting to move to the cloud. And I think I've talked about this too as well, that on the one hand, you know, from a cost-effective standpoint, it's not really, it's still a wash. You're not saving money when you go to the cloud, right, for the most part, because of the annual subscription costs, and you're still doing a lot of the work yourself. But what you are doing, and what a lot of CIOs like the idea is, you get rid of the responsibility of the security of the data. So if you get hacked, it's Google, it's Microsoft, it's Amazon, it's, you know, and you're in great company, right? And it's not me anymore. It's not my CIO head on a platter. And so people are shifting in that direction, and that's where data lakes come in, right? And tools like Snowflake, which are becoming very, very popular as a data warehouse in the cloud. You know, and the reason it's being popular is not because it's a data warehouse in the cloud, it's because of the cost model, where people think they're saving money because you're only paying for when you're actually using the data. But in reality, you'll pay a lot more. You'll pay a lot more once you get into production. But my point is that again, when you make that shift, you realize, well, wait a minute, you know, this data needs some cleaning up, you know, and we've got a lot of duplicates here, we've got a lot of nulls, and we've got a lot of issues here. And so, you know, those are all good things, you know, for business intelligence. You know, business objects itself is not that tool for doing the master data management or the data cleansing, but it is the tool you want to use to get good information out. So he you know, he's heading in the right direction, or she's heading in the right direction.
The conversation I find that I need to keep having is reminding them, because they do just kind of veer toward, we'll have a data lake now. And it's like, but once we do discovery, or once we clean it up, or do whatever, if we decide something needs to be released out to, you know, public reports, it still needs to be formalized, some structure put around it, and released as something where everyone can access. You know, we're not going to give 1,500 people at the university access to a data lake and have everybody go crazy.
Well,
and I feel like it's just, I think it's a new conversation. There's just a lot of.
It's a lot of buzzwords. It's a lot of buzzwords, and
Tons.
you know,
So
data
I
lake.
feel like that's where I'm at,
Yeah.
coming up with a lot of the right words to just try to keep steering things back to.
The way
What
people.
will this mean, and
Yeah.
how will we implement it, and what do you really think we're gonna do with this? Because I like the idea of master data management as well, but